corner so you're on the camera too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, we're not. It's just.
Oh, that's true. That's not fair.
It takes everything I do
That was
just to
by
get you guys
design,
on.
wasn't it?
That's
Nope.
pretty funny.
Okay, 5 o'clock, shall we call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any changes or updates to the agenda?
Sorry.
There are none.
Any public comment for the board?
I don't think so.
New business?
Okay, I just have it as a discussion, so we, just use it to, where we at. Claire can interject. Obviously, a very successful football season last year. Graduated 4 seniors. How many? 5. And off the team, so knowing that, okay, this year would be, kind of a rebuilding one. We were approached, and I think we discussed it, we were approached at the very end of the football season with Augusta. Would you guys consider a co-op? Claire called, and I go, well, ask them what they think. And they go, oh, we like the co-op, but the co-op would be you have to come to us 100% of the time. And so we immediately said, no, we're not interested. Augusta and Springtime came back to us. There was actually some deadlines, like we would have missed the deadline. But Augusta came back and said, okay, would you be interested in more of the traditional 50-50 kind of co-op? And at that point, looking and talking to the kids, we had a very serious meeting with the kids. Very serious. Claire was there, I was there, Peyton was there. And we had a very solid 10 commit to play. Talked about pros and cons of doing it. No, we'd like it to be a Lincoln only. We feel with 10 we can do so. Great. 10 of them go to football camp. At that point, looking good. That number dwindled as far as commitment went, and then start of the year, I don't think we ever exceeded 6.
There was, at one point, there was 8, but never more than 6 at a practice. So
And
between all the individuals that were involved, Peyton never had more than 6 people at practice at one time, and that was on the high end. He was often hovering between like 3 and 4.
yeah, we did. I was surprised we did have a 9th grade homeschool student who, great kid, super, and pretty surprised, but parents came and talked to Peyton, and football's not his thing. Did play in the middle school, and a lot of anxiety, and was just there to keep his parents happy, and so, then we lost that one. So we did have to forfeit this Friday, our first football game this Friday. I would have emailed you and told you guys that, but we were working on some other things behind the scenes and stuff. So we did have a kid who committed last year, never showed up, and then all of a sudden does a physical, and so we kind of had 6 on paper, but we had a very injured kid who was going to be hit and miss in addition to some commitment issues. So we would not have had 6 individuals that were eligible for this Friday night. So we had to forfeit that, and you owe it to the other team to let them know as soon as you can. But we tried to hold on as long as we could too. So that's what got us to this point and got me to the point of emailing you guys. We're on the verge of having to cancel the season. Peyton has told me what his freshman year looked like, and it was immediately after a highly successful football season. They had a bunch of kids returning. Starter quarterback decides to go to Sims, I guess, and a bunch of then other kids chose not to play. And then his freshman season was a JV schedule that they got to play one JV game at the very end. So we were going, we might try to piecemeal some things together with that, but we're not even at 6 to do that. Please know, we played our first game last year with 6 players. A couple other kids hadn't had enough practices yet, so we had very serious discussions on whether or not we should play that. That's with, at that time, that was with 4 seniors. We graduated a senior heavy team. Now we'd be potentially going in and playing with only 6 players with very young kids. So I think there's some there were safety concerns last year, and that was, a much different discussion this year. Peyton happens to be very close friends with the head football coach at Sealy. They started to chat. We kind of learned also, like, Hot Springs canceled their program, but they're now doing a 1-year co-op with Polson. Okay, so then there is an avenue we didn't know about, but
he was talking to Jacob as a friend. Jacob reached out and was like, how's your season looking? Obviously he was very invested in our season last year, so Jacob reached out and was just like, you guys started practice, how's it looking? Peyton was just like, it's not looking great right now. We've had to forfeit our first game and all of the yada yada yada, all the things that come with, like, talking to your buddy. And Jacob was like, it'd be so cool if, like, we could co-op and, like, give your boys a chance. And Peyton was just like, yeah, that's awesome, but, like, going back to work now. Like, he didn't really think anything of it. I didn't realize that conversation was happening, and the next thing I know, I'm getting a call from the Sealy AD. And he was like, hey, I just spoke to my head football coach. He is telling me that you guys don't have a season and that you don't have enough boys to, like, field the team right now. And I was like, how'd you know this? Like, this happened last night. What is going on? I was like, small town news really travels fast. And he was like, I'm going to reach out to the state if you're interested in doing a co-op and that. And I was like, okay. So he was like, I'll get back to you. And so, I walked down the hall. We were here working before school started. And I was like, why did I just get off the phone with the Sealy AD? Peyton was like, I had no idea Jacob was actually going to reach out to you. And at the time, we were kind of just like, okay. And so I reached out to Tom and was just like, this was a conversation that happened. Like, I don't know how it would work logistically. I don't have any answers other than here's the information and the conversations that are occurring. And so I eventually heard back from the Sealy AD, and he said we reached out to the state. Yes, this can work. It would be a 1-year emergency co-op where you guys can join our team, basically, where we would be the Sealy Lincoln Blackhawks, and you would just bring your players. And I was like, okay, and at this point it was like a Friday. And so I was like, okay, talk to Tom. He was like, let's bring it to the boys, see what the interest is. And so we brought it to the boys, and pretty much immediately they were like, no, this is not it. And they just said some things that just after I left, because I was a part of the meeting, and I just, like, after I left, I couldn't stop thinking about, like, they were like, we would play ourselves, like, to injury, and all, like, that line just stuck with me. And I was just like, I feel like this is an avenue that we just have to, like, consider a little bit more deeply, because playing to injury is, I think, a little bit bigger than they're realizing. You guys are in high school, like, I can't imagine, like, our 2 seniors have signed on to the Marines. Like, do you understand what that means? And so I continue to think about it. I continue to talk to Peyton about it and Tom, and obviously the conversation went very quickly. The next evening we were able to speak with Jacob and about the prospects and, like, what it would look like. And we reached out to the parents of our players and it was just like, this is the situation that we're in. What's your input? And I mean, there was parent concern for their kids' safety playing with only 6. I mean, you have, at the time we had one that's a freshman. He did play a year in junior high. We have a sophomore that's never played before. We have a sophomore that's played last year, and then our 2 seniors. So I mean, just a very young team, and just injuries can make an impact. So as the conversation continued, there was just like there was more parent interest in it as well to hopefully help the kids' safety out. So that was just like the timeline of that conversation. And
Yeah, so that kind of got us where we are, and so then just cutting to the chase, I think we have two options. No, we're not interested in the co-op, or two, and no, we're not just co-op, let's do something here. If we forfeit one more game of this season, we will have forfeited 25% of our year, and that will force us to be relegated to a JV schedule for the next 2 to 3 years until we can show that we have a viable varsity team. And I kind of understand that because it's all based on scheduling. Alberton dropped, we're dropping, Hot Springs dropped, and you can't schedule your season, you know, going, oh great, I had a full plate and now I'm down to 4 names, you know, kind of thing. So we could choose that, and then that's our future. I do believe we'd still be allowed to maybe consider co-ops and things like that for next year if we went that direction. Or two, I was unaware that a 1-year emergency co-op existed. We agreed to this. We're only obligated for 1 year, and then we are allowed to be a freestanding varsity team next year, or we could continue in a co-op if we chose. So that I started looking at that as far as keeping our options open, maybe it being a viable, you know, route for us to look at. So yes, the kids have gone back and forth, and I really respect that. And they signed up to play football for Lincoln here. They didn't sign up to drive, you know, over 45 minutes, you know, twice a day, you know, and get home late and stuff like that. But we had very solid 1, then we got a solid 2, and then and now I think we're at it. What I told the 2 that go, yeah, we're in this morning. I said, I just go, because yesterday they weren't, and I go, you had like maybe a day window, and I go, there is a board meeting tonight. I go, I do expect if you make this commitment, you're gonna follow through. So those are the choices in front of us. It's Claire and I, if you do choose to, and then we'll go, go to B, but this is discussion. If you do choose to do that, there's some details to work out, and that can certainly be part of the discussion. We do have an appointment, which we would just simply cancel if you chose. That's not what we're going to do. That tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, we'll be sitting down with the principal and AD at Sealy and going over, because I want you guys to know it's a co-op. Yes, it's Sealy allowing us to play for them this year. Moving forward, when it's more of a joint type situation, you know, I do think things change, whether or not that's with Sealy or another school. But that's what it is this year. Is you know, and talking to the boys, it's them being nice enough to consider to allow it. And when I sent an email to their principal and AD just thanking them for at least considering it. Hey guys, I know you have your own community and your own, like, if you have to tell us no, you know, that's still okay, you know, because they have things on their side, but we haven't.
They're very excited about the idea. I've gotten nothing but positive comments and reactions from their principal. He's been incredibly helpful navigating the paperwork side of things. So
anyway, that's just kind of like, okay, everyone's caught up. If you want to go to vice chair to B, then, you know, let's start the discussion on, you know, the questions you, I'm sure, have.
I really don't have any questions because I feel like you've already answered those, but.
How are, like, our parents feeling as far as the parents of the kids? I mean, this, like, the kids, I hope that the kids, if we approve it, don't quit, that don't want it, but also the kids that do want it. I mean, if they don't have a season here without it, But as far as like the parents having to travel, are they on board? Is it like, some yes, some no?
Hey.
This is the parent thing, talking to.
I requested this pair of ears.
I mean, I did talk to one of the other parent, cause the other two parents I don't really know. I think a lot of her concern was just
The
the
travel?
not even, it was just like she was just like bummed. I'm like, we will still try and figure out like a homecoming. And then she was like, okay, I'm like, due to that, I mean, you travel, like I think how many games are in Sealy?
They have a 9-game season and 7 of them are in Sealy.
Okay.
So, yeah, so mainly all the games are in Sealy.
Okay,
So I'm like, it's either that or we don't go to any games at all.
right.
And I'm like, not only that, they're filmed on TV as well. I'm like, I told my child we talked and we kind of pushed more for it because,
I feel like it's closer than a lot of our away games would have
Yes.
been,
yes.
as far as our season.
Yeah, and Olivia, that's a great question. I obviously spoke with one who I knew spoke with another. I was chatting with one of the seniors this morning as his parent was taking him to Helena to see if he had rabies, which I thought was hilarious.
That's a whole other story.
Oh my gosh.
If we're gonna send a Lincoln kid to Sealy, potentially with
He's
rabies,
got his rabies
I
shot.
thought that would be hilarious, but,
He doesn't.
Anyway.
Don't let him.
He would've been
He
dead by
doesn't.
now.
Oh, thank God.
once they meet this individual, they might think he does, but anyway,
Officially, no.
so-
It's not Paul.
He's okay.
Anyway, so, yeah, he's fine. Anyway, and she was right there, the other senior, I specifically asked, where's your dad all this, cause all last year was a very positive, vocal guy on the sidelines, and he goes, he's really okay with it. He said, it's your call, and, the thing was, it's like, okay, with this individual, I can hunt every day, my senior year before I take off, and then I'd like to play football my senior year, and he said, it's really your call, and these are individuals that I've seen at a lot of away games, and stuff, so it's not just the home games that they're traveling to, so.
So one other thing, like if the other kids want to play, I mean, no matter what, you have a young team, so even if we would have stayed varsity and had 8, you're still some of them are just scared. That's one thing that I've heard from parents was that their kids are scared and that's why maybe they're not. But maybe this would give them some incentive to play because they do have, I'm assuming maybe a JV
They do
or.
have a full JV and
So like
varsity,
having the
that is
JV and
the
getting more
opportunity
experience
that-
to where maybe some of those kids to talk to get them to, if that's the route we choose.
That's a great point, and, just like right now, I feel of the 4 going there, knowing these kids, we have one who I think is gonna make an immediate impact.
Mhm.
Excellent athletes but they're pretty young, freshman and sophomore, maybe, but like last year, that freshman, I mean, he was one of the 6, he didn't have a choice, and stuff like that, so for their growth, I'm actually looking at it being really beneficial. And
We could keep some of them that didn't want to here, maybe they would
yeah,
there for that
and that's, I've
experience.
talked about Peyton, of course, it's a good friend of his, and like Claire and I have some notes to go over. One of my just absolutes, if we're going to go this, I wanna make sure all the kids get a fair shot, the best players are going to play. And if that's a bunch of Lincoln kids, then, then that's the way it should shake out, so, and that, yeah, it's just, I've just seen it where new kids move in and then all of a sudden local kids are sitting, cause the better players, this new kid and stuff, there can be a little tension there.
I'm sure there will be, but that's part of it.
So we got that,
That's the competitive edge.
so, Peyton happened to have, we didn't plan it that way, he happened to have 7th period prep. And it happens that all the kids have electives at that time, so there's no core academic classes. So they do have to probably leave here around 3. So I've gone through all the schedules and it works. The kids will, when the football season's over and we're about 2/3 the way through the first semester, it's Peyton's prep. Hey, Peyton, you're gonna have these kids for study hall, 7th period, because I have nowhere to put them, that far into the semester. So that's one of the details we've worked out there. Taking the school van on a daily basis, Peyton's willing to take his private vehicle, we would reimburse him for the gas. So, there'd be some cost, obviously, with some travel. We will prorate our assistant high school coach through the end of this week. I told Darcy, because there's no position for that, I would like the board, I think it's Peyton's still our coach, and we would because they have offered him a position on their staff. They've made it clear unpaid. He's the co-op coach, but he's funded through us. I mean, that's the way I'm hoping you guys would see it.
Would we ride their bus to their away game, to the away game?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
basically what would that do for our transportation? Like we just,
Well, I'm hoping they would have to take the bus anyway, and we can just jump on, and there won't be a charge. That's one
Yeah.
reason we're going
Yeah,
tomorrow
that's
to
one of the
see.
okay,
If it's outrageous, there is a $250 fee that both schools have to pay MHSA to do this.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's a cost I was unaware of until they say if your board approves it, it'll be pending on that. I'm just trying to think, there's some liability things. This is one thing that we uncovered. We'll be discussing this at future meetings because we want it in place by the start of basketball. I will completely say, whoa, I always assumed we required proof of insurance for the kid to play athletics here because I've never worked any place that didn't. We don't. So Claire was talking to them and like, oh yeah, and just bring with you, the proof of insurance. Like, so I was shocked. She spoke with head of MHSA today. It's not mandated, but it's going to be mandated in Montana. I think it's something we just need because it's just a good practice. So we're kind of scrambling right now to make sure, we get the kids. That's just one of the things that, we should do. There are very affordable, like seasonal plans a kid can get who doesn't have insurance. And I know I can speak, even like PTSO or some of our groups, if there's a financial burden, we can make sure all the kids get a chance to play. But those are some things that we're hustling behind the scenes, making sure of, and then, moving forward with. But yeah, like, the covering the cost of the reps. Well, we make up this percentage of their team. Well, you get that from the gate. You guys you're gonna get more fans because more Lincoln people will be coming, kind of thing. So I'm not expecting that. I'm hoping that. I'm hoping it's just all welcome, guys. Oh yeah, we got the bus going. You just be hopping in. Obviously, our conversation from last board meeting. We would not be utilizing, our contract with Doug and Lori, for that. And based upon your decision tonight, we'll be informing that. I'll be emailing them in the morning regarding that. So, there's codes of conduct that would only, apply to our kids when they're there. They would have to adhere to their codes of conduct. But their eligibility is based upon our academic standards. We'll go over that tomorrow. I think that would be ours. Yeah, everything that you guys can kind of get churning, we've been churning also. So again, we got a lot of this rolling. I want you guys to feel comfortable. It's okay. This is way bigger than me saying, oh yeah, let's do it. And like, no, I need to come to you guys and talk about that. So.
I don't think I have any more questions.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve approve a one-year emergency co-op with Sealy Swan High School for football.
I will make a motion to approve a one-year emergency co-op with Sealy Swan High School for football.
First,
I'll second.
Leah. Nobody to oppose it. Is there any public comment? Any board comment?
No, I think it's probably our best bet to get the seniors who wanna play to play, get the younger kids experience so they don't lose a year, and then we can reevaluate next year
Yeah.
and see where we're at without having to demote ourselves or.
And even some of the kids that are scared to play right now here,
Right.
giving them the confidence to, even if they know they're gonna be on JV, to go do that.
It'd be a huge stress reliever for
And
everyone.
it's,
Yeah.
not playing for a year, that's huge, especially for football.
Yeah.
Like missing a year is, it's huge. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
So the boys have to have 5 practices with Sealy, before they can play in a Sealy game. So that's in addition to the practices they already have to play in our games. So, thank you, and thank you for meeting this, because by doing so, they can get their 5 practices in and be eligible for next
Will
Friday.
they be able to start maybe tomorrow? Or when do you think the earliest they'd be able to
Oh,
start?
no, they could,
They're
yeah.
there right now.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, are they being
They're-
like, how
they're
today?
gonna
I
get
don't
a
know if
text
that's
that says, yeah, they can.
I'm gonna
you
send
know.
them a text in a second, be like, okay.
Yeah. So sorry, but, yeah,
Good.
it's,
Okay.
yeah, I go, yesterday they took them and I go, no, this is just an orientation, cause
Yeah.
I didn't want.
Yesterday they got to see like the locker rooms and the field, they got to watch like the Sealy warm up and like see what their like processes are, so.
And they'll be, all be at the game Friday night,
Chloe
I'm
took me on the
watching.
sideline.
And how many
Perfect.
players do they have?
They had 23
Between 2 teams.
between JV and
Yeah,
varsity.
okay.
Right.
So,
So motion passed, so now we can
Adjourn.
ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 5:27.
Is there a
I'll second.
motion passed? Okay, sweet.
The red button.
Oh, my.